Hey everyone, welcome back to the live stream. We're on our little mobile rig setup here, and I want to give you an update about where the van is right now. So we're working on this Ford Transit. We're getting ready to start working on this one next week with the roof rack install. But today and tomorrow I'm going to be finishing up the water system. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to flip the camera around real quick and I'll show you what we're working with. All right, so we're going to talk about this. Let me give you an update where we're at. So finished up the top panel. So this is upholstered. The side panel for the heater and the 120 volt breaker is all set to go. We have some really simple wiring. We're just this is our power supply coming from our inverter. That's going to be connected to the Blue Sea Systems breaker. I've taken all the plastic off so it kind of looks weird right now. But we just have this for the input, and then back there we have 4 outputs. So we'll have one for hot water heater, microwave, and 2 outlets. So over there you can see the plug for the hot water heater. So for the hot water heater, we're using a Bosch 4-gallon hot water heater. And this one is just a simple, small residential style. It's very cheap. You can find it at Home Depot. If something happened to where this thing went out on you, you could definitely just install it very quickly. We'll have some quick disconnects right there, and then it's just a simple plug in and work. So it's really simple. You don't have to go too crazy. And since we're working with about 600 amp hours of power, we don't have to worry about it taking up too much power. All right, next what we have is those 2 lines in the back. That is for our outlets for the sink. So we're going to take this top of the sink off one more time. We need to install this right here. Really cool. Check that out. So it does have the USBs in there, which, I always talk about how that's not very efficient. But hey, if you already got the inverter on, you're making some margaritas, you want to charge your phone up on the kitchen galley, then no big deal. You can do it with this one. I like this because it's got the stainless steel look. It is metal. I have tested that. It's not plastic. And when you don't need it, it's out of the way. The countertop's flat. So just imagine this. We have 2 of them. One's going to be connected to the top of the kitchen galley, and then one's going to be on the back sides in case you want to cook with the induction stove outside of the van. So those are going to be our 2 outlets in the van. One is for the hot water heater, and another one is for the microwave. Now that space inside this van, I'm calling it the flex space. So you can put your toilet in there on drawer slides. You can put a microwave in there, which I'm pretty sure I'm going to do. Got to the point to where I think that's what I'm going to decide to do because it fits perfect, and I've already purchased it. It's a Contour microwave. You guys will see it later. But let's keep moving on and showing you what you're to expect in the coming days when I get some footage put together. So we're working with a Northwest Conversions 40-gallon water tank. It's the over-the-wheel well design. So this pocket is cut out, goes over the wheel well, 40 gallons. What's nice about that is it helps you not have to fabricate a box for around the wheel well, which can kind of be challenging. Now what I've done it's kind of a cheat, plus it looks good, is I'm reusing the Ford factory wheel well covers. And then what I've done is just made sure I integrate them nice and clean into the floor and to the adventure wagon system that we have. So you may be asking, how are we going to mount this so it is nice and secure, safe? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing that I did over here on the power side, and that is we're going to take these bolts out of this piece of L-track. We're going to map those holes to a new piece of L-track right here. Not L-track, sorry, 80/20. And then we're going to drill out those holes, the corresponding holes where they line up. We're going to slide a bolt down in here, and I did that in a previous live stream and I think a YouTube short. But we're going to put a bolt through here with the same thread pitch as this bar, these holes. And then what we'll do is we'll put the 80-20 bar up there and we'll bolt it right against this rail. It'll be nice and flush, and that way we have two things. One, it's positively bolted to the van. So this cage of 80-20 frame is going to encapsulate this. So it's going to come around the top and the back. Actually, I misspoke on that. It's going to come, I'm actually offsetting it from the wall. That's what this little teaching, this is the main part of the video today, is talking about making a jig so that you can, figure out where your holes need to be, how long everything needs to be cut. So we're going to make a frame to hold this. Frame's going to be bolted to the van, and then it's going to rest on the floor. And I'm probably going to bolt it into the bottom right here of the Flatline Vanco galley, just securely, but it might not be necessary. You'll see in the future videos. But that's the approach that we're going to take. Now, what I did for measurement is I needed to find out where everything's going to be laid out, because, custom vans, there's no rules on, or there's nothing to go off of when you're putting this together. So the first thing I did is I put the water tank in here, and I found out my dimensions I got the width of the water tank. So that's pretty obvious. We need to make sure it fits. And one thing to be careful on is when you do the width of the water tank, let me switch around here. When you do the width of the water tank, this one is, so it says 13 and a half, so like 13.7/8. But what you have to keep in mind is I put this in, I said, okay, 13 and a half, I'll be safe. Well, with water tanks, they tend to bow out like this, and that's just part of the manufacturing process. It's really difficult to get these things absolutely perfect. So even though you're measuring 13 and a half, you get that, it's included an 1/8 of wiggle room. I had to add another 1/2 inch because this is bowed out so much. So instead of 13 and a half, actually, 1/2 inch from the original. So it was 13 and, what did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 13 and 5/8. So now the width of my 80-20 bars are 13 and 5/8. That's going to make sure that in the middle where that tank bows out, it still fits. And what I'm going to take is actually some, it's like garage door foam. It's like a 1-inch strip or 1.5-inch strip of expanding foam. And it's got adhesive on the back, and you just peel and stick on this side, and that'll keep it from squeaking or making any noise. So that's what I'm planning to do. The next thing after that, so that was our measurement from here to here. Now we need to do from here all the way to the back, and that's the easy one. So that one we measured at 64 and 5/8. That 64 and 5/8 was because we want to make sure that we can fit in a 1/2 inch wood panel. So see how this one, there's a wood panel that actually goes back there in the back. So to get this to look the way it did, and to keep this, nice, kind of professional look, and be able to keep that 1/2 inch panel, you got to kind of bake that into your measurements. So you can see here we've got, so just look at the 10-inch mark. See how 10 and a half? That is our space that we can slide that panel in. So we know what from this venture wagon panel to here is measurement. It's going to be. We know what this back here to this is going to be. We know how we're going to mount it. And from those measurements, what we've done is we've come over here, we've got this little block of wood. And so these are our cuts. So we need 4 13 and 5/8. So that's the little width parts of the cabinet, and then, or the frame. And then we got 3 of the 64 and 5/8 and 4 of the 18-inch. So the 18-inch, that one is this next part. So let's take this frame right here. Let me see if I can get fancy with this new setup I just put together. Okay. So as you guys can see, this is just something that I'm using as a template to figure out, or a jig to figure out where all my measurements are going to be. So the challenge here is trying to find something that is, make sure I'm still in frame. There we go. The challenge is trying to make sure. Hold on. I think I can. Let me zoom out to the big camera here. There we go. I'm using the new DJI Osmo 6. I think that's what I'm using. There we go. Looks pretty good. And if you guys have any questions, just pop those in the chat. It'll come through on my phone. So here's our jig, and everything is nice and square on the bottom. And so we're just going to take this and place it where we have our measurements here on the bottom of the floor. And this way we can line up. And I'm going to grab that piece of scrap 1/2-inch wood that I have the measurements on. And so you can see, take this, because this is what's going to go behind here. That's that panel that needs to go back there. And see, we've located this is our vent port for our tank. And we need to make sure that a tube is going to be able to get in there. So now that tube's good, we're kind of working our way up. So the next part is this part. So this is the part that the main part I want to talk about in this live stream. So this, I just lightly have it on here so I can go up and down. So what I need to do is, I could measure with a tape, but it's better, see how this wobbles right here? I need to make sure that I find a kind of like a true home position for that. So it's right there. That's where I want to be. And then I just come back to my line. And so now what I want to do is I want to measure this. I want to move this up and have this even with the Adventure Wagon portion. So once I move that into place, now I know that my bar that's coming across the top, this is where I need to make my cut. So from here to here is what I need to measure for my upright for my frame. And so if I come in here and measure that, it's 18 inches. So it just happened to be, it's technically 18 and a 16th, but that's not going to be that big of a deal. So we're going to do 18 inches even, because if I put some weight on here, It's going to lift this up just a little bit. And so that's going to get me to my 18 inches without doing the 16. So you can kind of see where the issue is right here. Now, once I do this 18, what I've done is I've just triple checked. So I've taken this away. And then I've come in here and I made a mark where that bolt hole is, where the bolt is. And so we got 20.25 inch. So the 20.25, and then we need to minus, let's see, 18.5, 1, 2, 3. So we can double check. We got 20.25 from the ground. And then 20.25 to our center line. So that 20.25 is our center line where this hole is. So the reason that's important is, remember, this back bar is what's going to have the bolt in it. So I'm going to go grab a bolt. All right, now this is just for example purposes, but this bolt is what's going to be into the L track. This is the wrong size, but all you have to do is you drill through the whole entire piece of 80/20 in the middle, and then you're going to have a bolt right here that rides in this channel. And because I'll have to use a smaller bolt, I put a washer. But this is what's going to connect it to the whole frame to the adventure wagon. So that's how it works. So the most important part of this, it's not where this bottom 18 inches is, which that is important. It is this center line. So I want this center line so that when I take this bolt out for this bracket, it'll bolt right in, because that has to be perfect. Because 80/20 has to be perfect. So that's what I do is this bolt, I'll just keep it in so you guys can see. This bolt will come around, and then it's going to go into, there'll be a hole on the back side, so you can, the hole just needs to be big enough so you can fit an Allen key inside to tighten the other side of the bolt. So you don't want to drill it too much because you'll damage the 80/20. You want it as thick as that little center part. That way the whole thing still stays together. So once you do that, that's going to bolt it here. This one bolt right here, we'll do the same thing over here for this bolt. So that's going to be our this way movement, and the one on the top is going to be our top. And once you put about, we'll probably just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll do 5. We'll drill out this 5 times, and then we'll have this. So we'll have 6 bolts bolting the whole water system into the van, which is extremely strong. And we'll probably have 2 more by the kitchen galley at the lower portions. So this will take care of the top, and the bottom one will be the lower portion. And that'll be 8 bolts. So extremely strong. And once we have that done, we can pop in our water tank. We can pop in our hot water heater. And then we can start figuring out where we got to plumb everything. So we're just going to wrap up here and talk about how the plumbing is going to be run. Let me go grab, oh, there it is. Awesome. So, I got one thing I'm going to get. All right, so down here, we're offsetting the water tank. We're offsetting the water tank down here by 1.5 inches. So this is going to come out like that. And then we have our three-way valve. So this is going to allow us to direct where we want the water to go. So this goes right here, and then the outlet of the tank is going to be right here. And so we have a couple different positions. So when we want to take water out of the tank, we're actually sending it to the pump. So the pump is sucking on this side. So normal operation, it'll be sucking up this side and going to the pump. And then we want to drain the tank. We'll turn the valve up and to the right. And that way it closes this and drains the tank here. Now there's two things you want to do when you drain a tank. With this setup, you want to turn the pump on, pump out as much as you can until there's nothing else to pump. Then you could park on a little bit of grade, turn this to the right, and then drain the rest out of the tank. And then the top of the tank here, we'll have our last fitting, which is the top down to this post, and that is going to be our vent port. So that when you fill the tank up and it overflows, the overflow comes out of the bottom of the van. Plus, when you're using it, this can balance the air pressure inside. So when you're taking air out of the tank, it'll suck in air. And then when you're filling the tank up, the water is pushing air out of the tank and it comes out of this bottom vent. All right, so that's pretty much an update. Next time you see this, we'll have the frame and we'll start doing the plumbing process. There will be one piece of that little grid over there that I'm going to have to cut out just to fit the two lines in. And that has to do with wherever the 80-20 bars land. And the reason why is I use these special clips so that the PEX tubing doesn't vibrate and slap around when you're driving. And so I actually mount it to the slot of the 80-20. And that just keeps everything nice and organized. So it'll probably be right there is where I actually cut out that aluminum. I just need to cut out one little slat. Then we'll do a little bit of matte black paint to clean it all up. And we'll be good to go. The last thing is this power wire. That power wire is going to be connected to a button on the top of the tank. And it's going to provide power to two devices. It's going to power a light so that you can look through a cutout and find out the water level of the tank. That's going to be a blue light. And the other one is going to be a white light. There's going to be lights mounted on the outside of the tank. They are cargo lights for the rear of the van. And they're really cool. I have them packed away right now, but I'll show you them later. They're really low profile lights, and they're pretty cool. Over here, we're waiting on some screws to dry. These are just kind of placeholders. But this LED over here, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off real quick. So the LED in here is working. So this is the, just for looks, red LED to show off the electronics. If you guys didn't see the last live stream, we installed, let's see, that is installed up there in the 80-20 channel. So really cool. And the reason the way I got it to look like that is there's a special LED strip where the LEDs are really tightly packed together. And that's how you achieve that. Other than looking cool, this is functional because we have our temperature probe that's in the bottom of the inverter, and that's to make sure that the temperature inside this box is maintained. So on a hot day, it is regulating the temperature for you. The inverter obviously has its own built-in fan that's going to intake air and cool it, but when it gets to a certain point that it needs some help, this little circuit board comes into play. I've got to go back in and take this off. I need to set it to about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That way it's just not kicking on all the time. 80 is pretty safe. It can actually go up to, maybe 100, but the max temp that the inverter can get is 120 degrees Fahrenheit on the output. So I'm setting it to 80 just to get ahead of it, so we don't have to, we just, make sure everything's nice and safe. And the other ports are the 2 Renji DC to DC chargers there. Those indicator lights, it's cool to see them because you can quickly diagnose what's happening or find out how the system's charging. And then finally, you can see the window in here for your when you connect shore power. There's a little LED LCD display where you can see kind of what's going on there with the Renogy 3000 watt inverter charger. And yeah, so this turned out really nice and clean. This is mounted directly, perfectly on top of the intake vent for the inverter. So yeah, coming together. But that is pretty much it, guys. If you have any questions, put those in the chat below. Be happy to answer questions. Hope you like this new format. This is kind of the mobile format. We're still going to be using the main live stream rig over here for more detailed stuff when we talk about stuff on the internet, products and stuff like that, or we do some unboxings. But I'm probably going to use this setup just to get you guys some more updates on what's happening with the vans, because a lot of that stuff is happening and I'm not filming that much. So if you like this new format, let me know in the comments. And also, if you have any questions, put them there as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Share it if anybody needs some help that is working on their DIY van conversion. And don't forget to check out our website, Van Builder HQ, for new blog posts that are coming out on a lot of DIY van topics, as well as our DIY van build cheat sheet that is completely free. Link is in the description below. It's just essentially an Excel sheet that I've developed over the last 3 years, and it can really help you find parts easily. They're all organized and curated, over 250 items on that list. So check it out in the link in the description below. Put your email address in, sign up for it, and it'll get right to your inbox. It's completely free. I really think it's going to help you out. Thanks so much for checking out the live stream today. Join us next time when we talk about another topic on the van, get you guys a good update. But other than that, we'll see you guys in the next live stream.